Excel features several different formulas that can be used to return precise information relating to a particular month, day, or year. There are also formulas for calculating workdays and days elapsed between dates. As you can see, we have a table of orders and a list of dates said orders were made. We can use this list to extract date values such as the day, month, and year of a given cell. To find the day of a date, first select the cell, then insert an equal sign, followed by the day formula. Then select the date value, close the parentheses, and hit enter. As you can see, our day value corresponds to the date in our list, the 7th. We can then fill down the rest of our list by clicking and dragging. We can find the month of a date in a similar fashion. Select the cell and enter an equal sign followed by the month formula. Select the date value, close your parentheses, and hit enter. Our month value corresponds to the date in our list, February. And again, we can fill out the rest of the list by clicking and dragging. And lastly, we can find the year in essentially the same way. Select the cell and enter an equal sign followed by the year formula. Select the date value, close your parentheses, and hit enter. And I'll just fill down like previously shown. We can use Excel to find more specific information like a date value's weekday. Select the cell and enter an equal sign followed by the weekday formula. We then need to select the date value and insert a comma to move on to the next argument. Weekdays are displayed numerically with this formula, so we need to specify how we want to order them. For example, we can use numbers 1 through 7 where 1 represents Sunday and 7 Saturday, or 1 through 7 where 1 represents Monday and 7 Sunday, and so on. Let's have 1 represent Monday by double-clicking it from the list. Close your parentheses and hit enter. We now know that this order was placed on a Wednesday. And like before, I'll just fill out the rest of the list. We can use date formulas to perform more complex calculations like days elapsed between orders. Select a cell and then enter an equal sign followed by the days 360 formula. This formula uses a start and end date to calculate the days in between. So we should select our start date, insert a comma, and select the end date. Next, we need to enter a comma and choose our method. False is a US method of date keeping and true is the European way. Let's go with European. As always, close your parentheses and hit enter. We now know that 41 days elapsed between our first 2 orders. Let's fill down to complete the list. Excel allows for more specific calculations too. We can calculate workdays elapsed between orders using the net workdays formula. Select a cell and enter an equal sign followed by net workdays. We then need to select our start date, insert a comma to move on to the next argument, then select the end date. You have the options to include holiday days in this formula too. We won't do that right now though. Close your parentheses and hit enter to perform the calculation. We now know that 28 working days elapsed between our first 2 orders, and let's just fill out the rest of our list. We can also calculate the date in a certain number of days, which can be handy if forecasting deadlines. So, for example, we want to find the target delivery date for each order, which is 3 days into the future. Select the cell and enter an equal sign followed by the workday formula. With this formula, we choose the start date, insert a comma to move on to the next argument, then specify the number of working days. So we should insert 3 to find the target delivery date. Here again, you have the option to include holidays. However, we won't do that right now. Close your parentheses and hit enter to perform the calculation. We have now found the target delivery date for our first order. We can perform the same calculation, but include weekends. Insert an equal sign followed by the workday.intl formula. Like before, we choose our start date, then insert a comma to move on to the next argument, and specify the number of days, which is 3, then insert another comma to move on. Here we will be prompted with the option to specify the weekend. Let's set Saturday and Sunday to be our weekend. Close the parentheses and hit enter to perform the calculation. The target delivery date is now being displayed, but weekends are also being accounted for, and I'll just fill this out to complete our table. You've now seen how you can use formulas to retrieve information with dates in Excel.